Good morning. My name is Bob Winkley. I'm a member of the Standing Committee here at First Church, as well as a member of the First Church Boston Choral Ensemble. We're very glad that you're here with us today, either in person or online, in our wonderful, wonderful space, our sanctuary. I also want to welcome visitors, whether you're here in Boston just for a brief period of time, or if you're searching around Boston for a place to call home. We very much look forward to your being here with us today and talking with you afterwards. If you wish to learn more about First Church Boston or Unitarian Universalism, you can visit our website, firstchurchboston.org, or contact Reverend Stephanie or our intern, Ebony Smith-Cooper, or myself during coffee hour, which will be held immediately following the service in our narthex. There's just a few announcements today. First, I'd like to welcome our guest preacher, the Reverend Mary Katherine Morn. Mary Katherine is the president and CEO of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, a nonprofit, non-sectarian organization advancing human rights together with an international community of grassroots partners and advocates. She's also served as a senior staff for the UUA and as a senior minister in UU congregations. Today's offertory is to be a shared plate between First Church and the UUSC. I hope at that time you will all give generously. In a related announcement, Mary Katherine Morn will be speaking at 12:30, leading a discussion about the UUSC and its goals. I'm not sure where that's being held. Is it being held? It's being held in the auditorium. And just a very quick note, Friday, as we all know, is Halloween. First Church for many years has participated in the festivities of Halloween, and the neighborhood here, we're looking for volunteers to join in those festivities Friday between 5 and 8 p.m. There'll be jack-o'-lantern carving at 3 p.m. and then handing out candy. You can sign up at the coffee hour or speak with Barbara Martin or Ebony Smith-Cooper about joining in. That's all I have to say for today. Let our service now begin.
Good morning, I'm the Reverend Dr. Stephanie May, and I use she, her pronouns. Transcendentalist author, speaker, and minister Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, quote, "Never lose an opportunity of seeing anything that is beautiful, for beauty is God's handwriting, a wayside sacrament. Welcome it in every fair face, in every fair sky, in every fair flower, and thank God for it as a cup of blessing." I invite you to take a moment now and to just look around and to notice the beauty around you. Perhaps a neighbor's smile, the curve of your own hand, the smooth ceiling of copper here, or perhaps the view out of your window from home. On this day, as so much around us feels like it's fraying, falling apart, or broken, may we also notice the beauty within and around us. Let us enter into this time of worship, aware of both the beauty and the brokenness that we bring with us to these moments together. Let us begin by rising in body or in spirit as we light our chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, which came from the Unitarian Service Committee's work in World War II. I have a pin here from the UUSC that says, "Defying Nazis since 1940." And so the chalice was the symbol created to help ensure people recognize this organization that was a beacon of hope and freedom. So let us light this together as we say our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you now to take a moment to greet one another and to wave at our camera above the clock to our folks online.
Good morning.
Our opening hymn, if you wish to remain standing, is 1008 in the Teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Please be seated. Good morning, everyone. Now, I'm not sure if our young folks want to come forward or not, but I will vamp if they are. You can come forward too. My name is Reverend Hank Purse. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and we're trying out this new microphone. So if it seems a little booming, I will. Okay, all right. Good, excellent. Well, as was mentioned, as we all know, this is the week leading up to Halloween, and so I thought I would tell a story. It's called Jack and the Haunted House. Now, Jack, the folks who where this story came from the mountain region in eastern North America called Appalachia. Or Appalachia, depending on where you were standing when you say that. But and a lot of those folks who tell these stories, their families came from England and Ireland and Scotland, and often in those stories, they use the name Jack. So this is just another Jack story. But here in America, so Jack lived in a little village. Lived with his mom in a house, but they weren't doing well. They didn't have a lot of money, and they didn't have a lot of food. And Jack said, "Mom, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find a way to get money. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to leave this little village, and I'm going to go off." So he was getting all set to go, and his mom said, "Wait, you're going to get hungry, and I have a big pot of beans that you can take with you." And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm walking, Mom. I'm heading out." She's, "Yeah, no, you're gonna get hungry." He's like, "All right." So he put his shirts and extra socks in a bag, and then he had this big pot of beans, and he was just walking. And so the first day he said, he would eat a little bit of the beans as he walked, and then he'd sleep next to the beans, and then get up the next morning, walk some more, and soon he looked in the pot, and there were still some beans in there, but he realized that he only had another day, maybe 2 days left of beans. And he's like, I better find a place where I can get more beans or get a job and get some money to help my mom. So he then walked into this little town, and he saw the only person he could find was at a store, and he sort of said, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." And they said, "Well, there aren't that many jobs around here." He goes, "Well, if you can't get me a job, can you get me some place to stay for the night?" And they said, "Well, there's no place to stay except for that old house up on the hill there." And all of a sudden, Jack turned with his big pot of beans, right? "Oh, the big spooky house up there on the top of the hill?" "Yes. It's been empty for 10 years now. And folks around here say it's haunted. But the leader of our town, she says, if anybody can spend the night in that house, they can have the house for free." He goes, "Wow, and no one's done it?" They said, "Well, people have tried. They've gone in there for an hour, maybe even 2, but then they got scared and they left." And he went, "All right, well, I'm running out of beans. It's starting to rain." So he walked up the hill to the house. And first he knocked on the door, but then he went, "Why am I knocking on the door? There's nobody here. It's a haunted house, maybe." So he went inside. And of course, there's no light, but he kind of felt around, and he found a fireplace, and he started a fire, and he's like, oh, this is good. And he had his big pot of beans there, and he thought, like, well, maybe I'll have a couple of spoonfuls right now, but I want to be careful. It's dark in here, I can't see too well, and I don't want to knock over my beans in the middle of the night. And just as he's rearranging beans in front of the fireplace, maybe trying to warm them up, he hears a voice coming seemingly from inside the fireplace, and it says, "I'm going to fall." And he's like, "What? Who's going to fall?" And with that, a pair of legs popped out of the fireplace, 2 human legs. And they ran over and sat down in a rocking chair. And Jack went, "Well, I wasn't expecting that. But thank goodness those legs did not knock over my pot of beans." And he even said that to the legs. "I'm glad, okay, you're there, that's fine. My beans are here. Don't go running around anymore." And then all of a sudden he heard it again. "I'm going to fall." And he's like, "What? Who's next?" And next thing, like the torso of a body fell out of the fireplace, out of the chimney. And it kind of rolled around. He's like, "Watch out for my beans." "Oh!" And it hopped up onto the rocking chair and connected legs. And then he heard for a third time, "I'm going to fall." And what do you think came out this time? The arms. You're right. Oh, you know the story. Do you know this story? No, okay. But you know how this story works. Yes, arms fell out. And they kind of wriggled. He said, "Watch out for my beans." And the arms kind of went around the room, and they too attached themselves to the body. And then he's like, "Okay." And he kept waiting for another voice. But there was no other voice saying, "I'm going to fall." And he's like, huh. And the body's sitting there in the rocking chair, and he's eating the beans. And he's like, I think I need to go find the head of this ghost. And the body seemed to really like that idea as he said it out loud. Body gave him like 2 thumbs up. I'm like, all right. So he starts searching around the room. Doesn't see anything on the first floor. And he looks back at the body. The body's pointing down. He goes, oh, I've got to head down to the cellar. I bet it's a creepy cellar. in this haunted house. And sure enough, he opened the door to the cellar, creaky door, and there's no lights. He's like, oh, it's too dark down there. But all of a sudden, who's standing next to him? The body, and it's got a candle. It's found a candle. And he takes the candle, and it's lit. He starts walking down the stairs, and then he looks at the candle when he's halfway down the stairs. Oh, do you want to hold up your candle? Yeah, there you go. Hold up your candle. Right there, right there. Oh, no, that one right there. I work better with props. It's good. And he looked at the candle, and he realized, this isn't a candle. This is a finger that the ghost had lit on fire. Oh, my gosh. He's like, I better move fast. And he runs down there, and sure enough, there was the head of the ghost. He went, I'm going to pick this up. And he goes back up, and he gives it to the ghost. The head pops back onto the body. And the ghost says, oh, thank you, Jack. You know, over these last 10 years, people have come in here to try to spend the night, and they've all left because they were all frightened of me. But you weren't frightened of me. And as a matter of fact, you helped me. You helped me, which was so nice. What a good thing for you to do. I'm so grateful that you did that. And so I'm going to help you out. At the bottom of the stairs where you found my head, if you dig underneath there, you'll find a pot of, and he went, beans? Went, no, not beans, a pot of gold. And with that, the ghost disappeared. And he went, pot of gold, great. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to go down there and dig that up. And that's what he did. He dug it up. He found all this gold, more gold than he'd ever be able to spend in his life. And he had this brand new house, even though it was creepy and dusty, but it was a place for him to live. And he thought, I'm going back and get my mom. And that's what he did. And from what I heard, they've been living there ever since. So happy. Now the two things to remember, first is that the reason why everything worked out is because Jack was nice and helpful to another human being who was in need. And the other thing I want you to remember that this week, especially next Friday on Halloween, you're going to see lots of people dressed up. You're going to see you're going to walk down the street, you're going to see ghosts and wizards and all kinds of different costumes. But remember, they're not monsters, they're people. The theme for church this month is about battling monsters, but you need to remember that monsters aren't anything that's natural. Monsters often are just people. So don't be scared when you see somebody who looks horrendous and looks crazy, because I bet you're going to have crazy costumes as well, won't you? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. All right. We're going to sing our children out and off to their classes, and the words are here in your. Ooh, wow, creepy music. They're in your order of service. Now when peace goes.
I invite you to join in a time of prayer and meditation as we take a moment to turn inward and acknowledge the sacred within us. The Spirit of life, we sit in gratitude at this moment of quiet amidst days that are long and rapidly moving. We welcome this time of silence, contemplation, stillness. Sacred presence, be with us. We are angry, we are overwhelmed, our hearts are broken. And yet, we hold on to love, we pursue justice, we hold on to hope for today and the future. Grounded in sacred truth, that the meek shall inherit the earth, we pray for those who have chosen to act, to show up at ICE detention facilities, to offer prayer, communion, and songs of resistance. God of compassion, continue to show up in the least expected places. Help us to sit in the discomfort that leads to growth and to action, that leads to a better self, that expands our capacity to love. Universal love, remind us to lace up our shoes, put one foot in front of the other, to defy, to resist, to advocate, for ourselves and for those whose voices have been muted. We ask for forgiveness for the times we let our ego take the lead. We ask for forgiveness for the moments in which we spoke out of anger. Remind us there is power in our words, the power to heal and the power to tear down. We pray for the sick, for those battling illnesses, for those whose daily life are a challenge in ways not always visible to others. We pray for the courage to reach for the hand of another, to ask for help, to seek the holy when all else fails. In all things, remind us to be a beacon of hope for one another, as the light and the dark are of the same God. Entering now into a moment of stillness, may we rest in this hope.
Good morning. This morning's reading is by Mary Oliver from her book, New and Selected Poems, Volume 2. It's entitled Lead, or it may be entitled Led. I'll let you decide. Here is a story to break your heart. Are you willing? This winter, the loons came to our harbor and died, one by one, of nothing we could see. A friend told me of one on the shore that lifted its head and opened the elegant beak and cried out in the long, sweet savoring of its life, which, if you've heard it, you know is a sacred thing, and for which, if you have not heard it, you'd better hurry to where they will sing. And believe me, tell no one just where that is. The next morning, this loon, speckled and iridescent, and with a plan to fly home to some hidden lake, was dead on the shore. I tell you this to break your heart, by which I mean only that it break open and never close again to the rest of the world.
Our offering today is to be shared with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. And thinking about that poem, I think about they are the people who listen with an open heart to so many of the cries and stories around the world and partner with people at the grassroots level to alleviate suffering and to pursue justice. From the time that a couple from Wellesley went to Nazi-occupied Europe to get folks out, the UUSC has been defying all kinds of harm and keeping their heart open. So I invite you to give as generously as you are able to today's offering, and also to listen to both the sermon and to come to after coffee hour or during coffee hour to hear more about the work of the UUSC. Thank you.
you. This is a story to break your heart. Are you willing? Do you dare? I hesitate these days, if you know what I mean. So many stories breaking our hearts. So many monstrous things happening. That's why I am so grateful for Sunday morning, for the practice of our faith that invites us into each other's company here in the sanctuary and online, so that we can sing together and cry together and imperfectly strive together to face the world as it is, so monstrous, so heartbreaking, and so beautiful. I want to thank Stephanie for this invitation to preach here at the church where I worship when I am not preaching in some other city, which is about half the time. And I have to say, I feel a lot less nervous in those cities, other places. I love my work, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity and the privilege of leading UUSC and following the activists and organizers and change makers who are advancing human rights all across the world. I'm passionate about sharing the good work of UUSC with congregations and inviting UUs and other progressive people of faith to support this important work, really to make it possible. I hope that some of you can stay after the service for more conversation. In particular, I'm looking forward to sharing about the ways our work is emerging and changing here in the United States in response to the horrific policies of this administration that are targeting so many people, tearing down democracy, and denying so many people of their human rights. I'm glad to have my colleague, the Reverend Laura Randall, with me. She'll be joining me, as well as our brand new intern, Massey Williams. We will be there to share a little more. So I want to thank each of you who is already a supporter of UUSC, and I want to thank this congregation for being a support to me and to all of us, so many of us, in the work that we do in the world. I'm especially grateful, Stephanie, to you for your ministry, for your powerful ministry here. Stephanie has, could I get an amen? So many beautiful gifts of ministry, and I especially appreciate the way you always hold us in community, in relationship with our ancestors, calling us both to honor and to merit the inheritance we receive from this church's great history, and also calling us out beyond what has been possible so far to do more and to live more faithfully in the world. I hope you heard Stephanie's beautiful challenge of last week in her sermon, daring us to live our values. This church calls us to honor our ancestors and to live our values. And here, we are reminded most of all that we are not alone, that we share a vision of embracing and protecting the dignity, beauty, and power of all people and of this planet we share. This church also calls us not to turn away from the world as it is, not to harden our hearts, because when we turn away from suffering, the brokenness from the world as it is, that means we are also turning away from the beauty in this world. At church, this is one of the greatest gifts and the most difficult challenges of being in religious community. At church, we're here for all of it. And we bear it, the brokenness and the beauty, because we know we're not alone, and because we do not measure success. We do not measure success in terms of delusions of perfection, or in narrow categories of supremacy, or even in the length of our days. but by faithfulness to love and the web of life that holds us all. And still, this is a story to break our hearts. I was visiting Columbus, Ohio, several months ago, visiting the Unitarian Universalists in Columbus, Ohio, and I had time to visit the art museum in Columbus. But I had awakened that day, last spring, to some bad national news. Let me see if I can remember what it was. It could have been so many things. As I was walking through the museum, a little tired and a little disheartened, I was about to actually just leave. Nothing had struck me. I didn't feel moved. I was sleepwalking in a way through this beautiful art museum, but I turned a corner just before I was planning to leave the museum, and I saw her. She stood about 15 feet tall through the narrow opening of two doors of the doorway, framed perfectly in the doorway. This 15-foot tall copper and wood figure, all black. She was Alison Saar's copper, wood, and neon sculpture, Nocturne Navigator. Her wide black skirt illuminated from the floor. She was larger than life, watching. Her head was held high and her arms bent at the elbow, hands open, welcoming, inviting, definitely heartbroken. She took my breath away. I don't know how long I stood there in the middle of the gallery looking through the narrow opening. I do know that as I stood, my breathing changed. It deepened. She completely shifted my perspective. After however long, I walked into the room where I could see more clearly that the matte black finish of her skirt was spotted with tiny lights. They looked like stars. And it was only then that I walked outside the room and discovered that the Nocturne Navigator, this towering figure, commemorates the Underground Railroad. That explained her anguish and her inviting love. If you are ever in Columbus, I encourage you to go see her. The scholar Elaine Scarry describes the transcendent and transformative power of beauty in her little study entitled On Beauty and Being Just. Scarry contends that when we experience beauty, we are changed. Our gaze fixes, our mind clears, and our hearts open. That's what beauty does. Scarry goes so far as to say beauty brings us to life, that beauty awakens us to the world as it is. And she says it does more than awaken us, it also confronts us, even admonishes us. It changes things. Any encounter with beauty creates a shift, because in order to see something that is beautiful, to experience something that is beautiful, we have to decenter ourselves. We see beyond ourselves and our own needs. And as we step aside, as it were, we make possible a relationship that creates room for the utter subjectivity of the other. We create the possibility of the other's wholeness in itself, fullness, dignity, power. This is no small thing to apprehend something or someone without reference to what they are in relation to us, right? It's not something we do very often. Our own survival, in a sense, depends on our own survival, often causes us, our striving for our own survival causes us to narrow our perspective as we forget that our survival is tied up with the survival of others. We thrive when we have the opportunity, when we all have the opportunity to thrive, but in the narrow perspective of fear, we forget. So this shift that happens with beauty is helping to move us out of our narrow, fearful perspective about taking care of ourselves and what our needs are, to see beyond that to the fullness of those around us, reminding us that we are not alone and that we only survive, we only flourish when we flourish together. When we open ourselves to another in this way, the other thing that happens is it becomes impossible for us to ignore injustice, to turn away. It becomes impossible for us to ignore suffering, the needs of others. And that right there is why tyrants are so afraid of the power of art and beauty and of story. When I first started work at UUSC, the thing that I feared was that I wouldn't be able to bear being in relationship with the day-to-day terrible suffering of people all over the world. I was afraid that the monsters would keep me from ever sleeping again. But what I didn't know then was that the much more significant change this work would bring into my life is the presence of more beauty than I ever could have imagined. I was helping to prepare a group of climate activists for a panel in New York during the United Nations General Session a couple of years ago. And on our way, we got a text, please pick up. And they gave us a list of things to pick up. And we were a little puzzled. I was a little puzzled. But the Pacific activists who were hosting this panel wanted to ensure that the drab room we were in represented the beauty they were working to protect. We picked up potted plants and flowers. I would have been worried about the words I was going to be saying, but they knew the importance of bringing beauty into the room so that we would not forget what we are all fighting for. 3 years ago in Krakow, Poland, 3 of us from UUSC were visiting with a group of activists supporting Roma youth from across Europe to learn about their culture and their history and to remember the genocide against the Roma people during World War II. A difficult, heavy subject for a 3-day conference. But what we found is that more of the conference was spent singing the beautiful songs from their heritage, wearing their traditional dress, and dancing together. They knew that this part of their identity, this beauty that represented who they are as a people, was as critical to protect as the history of their people and the genocide against them. This past December, UUSC sponsored a convening in Thailand with our partners from Burma, also known as Myanmar. Over 2.5 days, we learned about their current struggle for freedom in the midst of their military's ongoing attacks against their own people. 15 UUSC partner organizations shared about the work they are doing and that UUSC is helping to fund to protect communities in this dangerous time, and the work they are doing as part of a movement for multi-ethnic democracy. Their stories were so brave, so creative, so painful, so powerful. One of the highlights of our trip was our opportunity to participate, just by chance, in the 25th anniversary gala for the Women's League of Burma. That may not sound like such an amazing thing, but if you know something about the history of Burma, there are 33 distinct ethnic groups in Burma. And the last many decades have been a story, a history of conflict between these groups and the ruling Burman party and people persecuting many of the other ethnicities, and perpetuating this rhetoric of hate and division, something we've seen many times, a kind of religious nationalism and a supremacy that creates terrible violence, and even in the case of Burma, genocide. So these are women who for 25 years, and that even predates the election of Aung San Suu Kyi and the glimpse of the possibility of democracy in Burma at that time, these women came together across their differences, lifting up the beauty of their ethnic traditions, even as many of those traditions had been criminalized. They'd been doing this for 25 years, and we got to experience their 25-year celebration of this work and hear them as they expressed their deep conviction that the work for a multi-ethnic democracy was making headway, and their vision for what the future holds for all of them. This was in December. So putting it in the context of time, this was after November and before January. And so for us, it was such a gift to have this expression of hope, this story of a long-standing struggle for justice and human rights, ongoing. Their courage was lived in the expression of their beauty as they wore their traditional dress, brought their traditional foods, the full expression of culture and identity, unhindered by the narratives of hate and division that seek to silence and erase. Their beauty is their resistance. They're determined to create a space where no one is shunned for their religion, their culture, their gender. They won't be silenced. They won't be erased. It was a gift for us to experience this, and I was changed. And this is what happens time and again in less dramatic ways. We're stopped in our tracks by something beautiful, our breathing changes, our mind clears, and most of all, our hearts open. In this state of heightened awareness, we're able to shake loose from our careless sleepwalking through the day, and we're reminded of the holy, the wonder and mystery around us and within us, and our own place in that wonder and mystery. As we come alive to the world as it is, beauty calls us to create, protect, and preserve what is beautiful. It is kind of a pact. Here's Elaine Scarry again. She says about this pact, it begins with the confined circumference of beholder and beheld, who exchange a reciprocal salute to the continuation of one another's existence. And then this reverence expands beyond this circle to all of life, to a radical sense of the value of all life. And this transformation leads us to our work as partners in creation, protecting, preserving what is beautiful and alive. We do this in many ways. Stephanie shared last week how this congregation did it in the defiance, the resistance of showing up in protest at the No Kings rally, in showing art that forces us to look at things in a new way. We do it in our church committee work, in work we do day to day, in our families, in so many ways. We do this work of resisting and working to dismantle the systems of supremacy. Right now, many of us are doing it as resistance to the authoritarianism fueled by narratives about people in migration, about people who are trans, who are so feared and so criminalized. We all do it, this resistance, this protection and creation and stewardship of the beauty of all life in the company of others, ancestors and living companions in this room and beyond. Beauty awakens and admonishes us Sometimes it is easier for us to close our eyes or stop our ears. But if you have seen, if you have experienced the beauty of a new day, the full force of soul that is in each child that comes into this world, we can't turn away. We won't turn away. We are here in religious community not to hide from the world as it is. We are here in religious community not to protect our hearts from breaking. We are here together to borrow courage for the task of coming alive and creating a world where all people are free, where all people may flourish. Your heart will break. Are you willing? Do you dare? We're going to be singing a hymn together. I invite you to stand in body or spirit. It's Fire of Commitment. I don't know what number it is. 1028.
When I realized we'd be talking about monsters and the idea of fighting monsters this month, I immediately thought about the UUSC and that legacy. And so thank you so much, Mary Katherine, for being here today. And I forgot to mention with the offering, I am a proud monthly supporter of the UUSC. Every time I hear her speak, I just want to support more of this work, and I hope you feel the same as you're able. I invite you now to extinguish the chalice with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of our community, or the fire of commitment. So carry with our hearts until we are together again. Our benediction today are words of Mary Katherine from the hymn we just sung. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. Go in peace, serving love, faith, and justice. Amen.